Now we want to move on to talk about a topic about money supply. So to begin with, we want to define what is money supply. We said that money supply is the amount of money available in the economy, which is the money stock. So then the first question we would like to ask when talking about money supply is that who controls the money supply? It turned out that it is the central bank that controls the money supply because the central bank is the only agent in the economy that can provide or print money. The second question is how does the central bank controls the money supply? It turned out that the central bank controls the money supply by open market operations, which includes the open market purchase and open market sale. One increases the money in circulation and the other is reducing the money in circulation. And now we want to move on to look at that how the open market operation can change the quantity of money supply. So why the open market operations will be able to change the quantity of money circulated in the economy? Let's take a look at this graph. On the left hand side we have the central bank. On the right hand side we have the economy. So then when the central bank conducted the open market purchases, it purchases some goods, for example the bonds from the economy. So then what the central bank need to do is that they need to pay cash in exchange for the bonds. So then there will be more cash circulated in the economy for that case. Therefore it increases the money in circulation. On the contrary, when we conducted the open market sale, then it means that the central bank sells some goods, for example the bonds. So then to sell the bonds, the central bank needs to get something back. So the economy pays the cash back to the central bank. So then because of that, the quantity of money circulated in the economy becomes less. So that is how the open market operations changes the quantity of money circulated in the economy. So how about for money demand? The definition for money demand is the quantity of monetary asset people want to hold in their portfolio. So then the immediate question is, who demands money? It turned out to be we demand the money. The second question we would like to ask is how much does people want to demand for money? And it in fact depends on the factor that affecting the decision for money demand. So then in here we classify the factors that affecting the money demand, that is the real money demand, into three types. That is about related to returns, related to risk, and related to liquidity. So then when the return of the monetary asset got higher, then it means that people in general prefer to hedge an asset with higher return, therefore it will increase the money demand. On the contrary, if the expected return for the non-monetary assets got higher, then people will say, hey, given that the return for the other asset is better, we better switch to the other assets. So in here, when the expected return for the non-monetary assets got higher, then it will reduces the money demand. For the second type of factor that affecting the money demand, which is risk, we talk about the risk for the monetary assets and the risk for the non-monetary assets. When the risk for holding money is higher, you will say, hey, it will be too dangerous to hold money, then I prefer to hold something other than money. Then it will be moving our wealth holding from money to the other assets, so the real money demand should fall. On the contrary, if the risk for the non-monetary assets got higher, then people will prefer to demand more money because they don't want to hold the non-monetary assets anymore. The example of the non-monetary assets can be, for example, stocks. So that before the establishment of the stock market, it means that the stock holding is not that liquid. Then people will be very reluctant to hold stock because once they need money, they cannot get it back when they invest in a firm. However, when the stocks got IPO'd, then they can be easily sold in the stock market, which means that the liquidity of the non-monetary assets got higher. In that case, people are willing to buy some stock because once they need the money, they just sell the stock and get the money back and spend it. So then when the liquidity of the non-monetary assets become higher, then it will reduces the demand for money. Finally, if the efficiency of the payment system becomes better, for example, there are more establishment of the ATM machines, then people will probably want to hold less money because they can just easily withdraw money from the ATM machines. Can you imagine that if there is no ATM machine in the TSMC buildings, then every time when you want to buy lunch after the class, then you need to have some cash in hand, otherwise you will not be able to buy your lunch. And given that there is an ATM machine at the TSMC building, so if you have class there, then which means that the efficiency of the payment system is better compared with no ATM machine installed in the TSMC building, then you probably will say, hey, I don't need to hold that much cash in my pocket because whenever I need money, I just go to the ATM machine and withdraw, and then I can go buy my lunch. So then the efficiency of the payment system will affecting the money demand. If the efficiency of the payment system becomes higher, then the demand for money should fall. Up to this point, we are talking about the factor affecting the money demand from an individual's perspective. Given this is a macro class, therefore we also want to know the factor affecting the money demand from the macro perspective. Therefore, the first factor we want to talk about is about the price level. So when you go to Japan, then everything is denoted in the Japanese yen, then you are going to hold more yen than you hold NT dollar in Taiwan. So in here, when we are talking about how price level affecting the money demand, we are talking about the nominal money demand. When the price level is higher, then you are going to hold more money. The other factor that affecting the money demand from the macro perspective is the interest on the non-monetary assets. In here, we are focusing on the real money demand, given that we already talked that when in the individual's perspective, when the interest, which is the return on the non-monetary assets, becomes higher, then people will prefer to hold more of the non-monetary assets. Therefore, same thing apply in here. When the interest on the non-monetary assets gets higher, then the real money demand from the aggregated perspective should decrease. Finally, the last factor that affecting the money demand is the real income of a nation. When the real income is higher, then people probably will consume more as well. Therefore, when there are more consumption need, people will hold more money for purchasing purposes, because the purpose of holding money is for transaction. Therefore, when the income is higher, people have more transactions, then there will be more money circulated in the economy. So again, in here, we focus on the real money demand. In general, we believe that when the real income is higher for a nation, then the real money demand should be higher as well. So this is the end of today's lecture.